You're listening to Nova Thinking, a podcast with me, Bella Nova. I'm constantly overthinking about everything, but I believe you'd like to hear my take on all things crazy in life. So keep listening and let's Nova think together, right? In this episode, my first ever episode, crazy, we are going to be talking about turning 25, a milestone that is exciting yet daunting. I will be talking about how this age makes you think about all the things you haven't done and forces you to dwell on what the hell do I want to do with the rest of my years. I will share my personal experiences and growths from turning 25 and how it makes me feel personally, as well as taking an outsider's perspective on why 25 is always deemed as this ugly year, a year that makes you feel 100 years old. I want to reflect on being in your 20s and the tests these years bring to us and why that is the case. So keep listening, keep overthinking, and maybe we'll ignore how we're all getting older and we can never escape the burden of aging and growing old. Okay, so this is my first ever episode, which is truly daunting, but it should be okay, because for the people that truly know me, truly know me, I really do like to talk, especially when it's about something that I know. And I thought I'd start with something I know very well, which is being 25. I turned 25 in September of last year, and for my birthday, I decided to go to a concert on my own. I went to see Amar Apollo at the Roundhouse, and beforehand, I went to a photo booth to take some cute vintage photos of myself, which I have just on my pinboard behind you guys, behind the camera. It was 4 shots. I didn't realise the first one was being taken, so the first one is just a flash of light in my face and I look very startled. The other 3 are great and I think I look great in them. The purpose of why I did that is because I wanted photographic evidence of my youth for safekeeping. Because you're only 25 once, and so I wanted that piece of history documented. But it's so scary how it creeps on you without you thinking, and it's like all of time has escaped you. Like, what have I done for the last 25 years? Went to uni, yeah, twice, but apart from that, what else? No, I have done a lot, and I'm super lucky that I've done a lot, and I've been to a lot of places, and I've done a lot of things, but from time to time, I do start to panic, and I feel a bit sick being 25, but honestly, the sliver of hope shines through that big pile of sick. I'm still pushing through, trying my best every day. For those that don't know me, I can do a little bit about me, how I got from, how I got from one place to the other, how I got here, basically, if you guys want to know. So, this is me. Okay, I'm from Swansea in Wales. I went to university when I was 18, like every normal, okay, academically achieving person, to study English literature, which was the best and worst mistake of my life. Then I graduated in 2020, which is probably the worst year to have graduated, because I actually didn't get a graduation. I just sat at my laptop in my 3rd year uni house on my own and handed in my dissertation and went and got takeaway. And that is all I did. So yeah, I graduated in 2020, the worst year to graduate. And then after I graduated, I moved back home to Swansea because I went to university in Exeter. And I stayed at home for a year because, again, it was COVID. And I worked in a supermarket for about 9 months. And at the end, I had a supermarket baby. No, joking. After the 9 months, I had saved up enough money to move to London. During that time, I applied for a master's, and then I got into the master's, and then in 2021, I moved to London, did my master's in journalism, and graduated. last year in January. So since then, it's been a bit rough trying to find work and what I want to do, or I guess what I can do. Through the process of applying to jobs, I've really battled with what I want to do. Like, I'll apply for a job and then I'll be like, wait, do I actually want to do that? Again, I guess this is a privilege, checking in on my privilege for a second. It's a privilege to have these thoughts dominate my mind, like what I want to do. You know, back in the day, 100 years ago, women didn't have a choice, couldn't vote. So I say 100 years ago, like 100 years ago? I am privileged to think about what I actually want to do in my life as a woman. But to have these thoughts like dominate my mind and my life, it kind of gets me down. And I can get really down. And I can get quite sad. But here we are. So here I am doing this. I decided I needed some kind of outlet to let my creative juices out, to let the voices out of my head. I guess 25 has forced me to go a little out of my comfort zone, forced me to act rather than to observe. I feel like I'm acting out as well more than I did when I was younger. Like, I cut my hair last week, which I would never do. I want to dye my hair. That's seriously in the works, but I would definitely be so scared to do that when I was younger. So it's weird that the rashness is coming, like, all out of a sudden. I guess I feel a bit more sure about myself, like, being who I am. Like, I like how I look, and I like how I think from time to time. But I guess I like my approach of things, and I like my passions, and I like that life has taken me to different places. My confidence is slowly coming back, which I'm enjoying a lot. I feel like I lost that recently, and I don't really know why. I guess it probably comes from the many rejections I've had, but I feel like now I can take rejection, well, from time to time. I've stopped feeling like an imposter, but this is a slow process and I'm not 100% there. There's still many aspects of my life where I need to accept rejection. I'm looking at every man out there. Do not perceive me. But anyway, that is another day. That is another episode. Although I feel like I know myself, I don't really know what I want to do. I think being 25 just illuminates that very brightly. Like, my struggle is effervescent. Like, OMG, I'm 25 and I haven't figured it out. Point the finger at the girl. I'm a clown of decision making. But I'm just hopeful that that ambition to do something doesn't die. And I don't think it will anytime soon. But is it too late for me? Am I too old to feel lost? Like, I'm not that late, am I? Because it feels like I am, but I'm also not. And there's still a lot of time until I'm 30, right? Like, I feel like I'm at the age now where I should have travelled around, and I haven't. Or I should be at the point of my career where I'm not completely at the start. Sometimes I think I'll never get a job applying for every single entry-level thing and not getting it. Is there something wrong with me? Well, probably, but I'll never know because the response is always the same. We've had over 200 applicants for this role, so we apologise for not giving specific feedback on your application. We wish you the best in the future. And I just look at it like, brilliant, thanks for that. And then I feel like I should be at the point where, yeah, that's okay. It's okay to be starting out because, you know, I went backpacking last year across Asia, you know? And of course I'm starting fresh because I did all that and I've gained all that experience, but I haven't. But do I want to do that? I don't know. And I just get torn between the two a lot of the time. But what I feel most inclined to do is pursuing my creative career. Hence the podcast. And I just want to knock that massive door down and step one little foot into anywhere and feel like, wow, okay, I'm using the skills I've worked really hard for and using my interests and knowledge to actual use and working in a creative team. But that comes with trials, it comes with rejections and trying new things, and like I said before, going out of my comfort zone and talking to people and trying to make connections in some way. Although it's scary, it's kind of exciting. It's like world building all over again, like you do in university, but now it's like the real world with people all over all ages doing different things. I don't think I know for definite what I want to be nor what I'm going to become in the next 5 years, but sometimes that's a good thing. I remember before university, even before A-levels, where I thought I was going to be a doctor, I remember choosing my A-levels and thinking, this is it. All I need to do is complete this, which at the time I thought I could, and then I'll do medicine and I'll be a doctor. And then that all came crashing down after my first year of A-levels because I couldn't manage it. It's not that I was stupid. Like, come on now, I'm definitely not stupid. And I'm convincing myself every day of that. And, you know, delusion is key here. It's a strong theme for this podcast. Yeah, I'm not stupid. I just couldn't do it. I tried. I did really try, but I didn't have what it takes to succeed in that particular thing. And that was the thing that was quite hard to get my head around. It was quite painful, but I wasn't too distraught because I accepted that no matter what, I was going to try and get into university to study whatever. Then I chose English literature, and that was my focus. My focus was like, great, finish these A-levels, get the grades, and go into uni. That's all I thought about for a year. And then I went to uni and my mind went to mush, and all I thought about was going out and making friends, which is fine, but it's hard to grasp that I wasn't thinking about my future when I wish I was. Then university flew by and I was so happy to finish, but very, very, very lost. COVID did not help with this feeling because not only did I not know what I wanted to do, but most things were out of reach. Like, I couldn't move to London in 2020, like that would be a joke. I think my point is that it's weird living without a big, dramatic, fully fleshed goal. I have little goals, of course, but it's weird living like without that drive that I once had. I think 25 has slowly awakened that drive that I felt when I was 18 to like just get into university. Like now I just want to get that job that I'm good at. And it's okay to do little things as well and not really rush that goal like I did in school, and just work out little things along the way. And if those goals change along the way, that's kind of exciting because then you're just driving towards something, but just something different, something unknown, something unplanned. So, why does society make us believe that 25 is so old? So yeah, I went on the World Wide Web. So yeah, I was having a look around to see what other people said. Yeah, I read this article that's quite old. It's like actually no, it's not old. It's from January of this year by Emma Lofhagen. Amazing name. And yeah, she wrote an article in the Standard and it was called "The Quarter Life Crisis is Real. I'm low-key dreading turning 25," which couldn't be more of a chronically online Gen Z title for an article, but kind of works. And she writes, "And there's the horrifying realization that were you to completely give in to the quarter life crisis and audition for the X Factor, you'd be thrown onto the scrap heap of the 25 and over category, like some washed up has-been in life's last chance saloon." And I remember reading that and being like, that couldn't be, like I felt that inside. Because I remember watching X Factor as a kid so much. I was addicted. And I remember being like, oh yeah, the 25 and overs, like, they're so old and, you know, they're really clinging on to hope that they're going to be big. I'm like, so they're like 27, like, that's not that deep. But I'm only realizing that now, if that makes any sense. She also writes, "Plus, because of the pandemic, most of us spent the years we should have been getting the travelling and polyamory out of our system, instead sitting in our childhood bedrooms doing Zoom quizzes." And I can relate to that because, I mean, if you cannot relate to that, what were you doing in COVID? Reading? No, we all pissed about on social media and Zoomed too many times. Me and my friends did some Zoom quizzes. I remember Zoom quizzes, but also I remember we did PowerPoint presentations, and I did a PowerPoint presentation with my friendship group on which Lady Gaga album I think they are, which was fun. Has Lady Gaga released an album since Chromatica? Sorry, distracted. Yeah, I didn't include the Tony Bennett or the like anything else sort of album. It was the 6 core albums of Lady Gaga. So That was really fun. Enjoyed too much probably, but it was really fun. That quote made me think a lot about the pandemic, and I feel like I have touched already on the pandemic influencing this aspect of my life, but it's really hard not to not include it, because unfortunately during the pandemic I was 21, 22, which, you know, is such different to, I don't know, if you're like 37, 38 maybe. And skipping over being 21 and 22, where I could have done so many things, like go to Vietnam or something, makes me feel like I haven't really achieved anything. Like maybe if it wasn't for COVID, I would have moved to London sooner and decided to pursue something else. And then I just think about COVID and I'm like, that was 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? I think, going back to Lady Gaga, it actually pains me to think that she performed her iconic performance of Paparazzi at the MTV VMAs when she was only 23, which is crazy. Like, that is so young. But that's like also so great, and it's so good to achieve. Did I miss out on the years where I was actually supposed to achieve something great, like some mind-altering journey that I had across, I don't know, some part of the countryside and the other side of the world? Or, you know, was I actually supposed to become a TED talker at 22? Like, what happened? That pressure, which I'm going to talk about later, I think comes from myself, but also social media. I'm going to touch on that later in the podcast if I still have time. But yeah, there's some pressure in that. I think 25 feels old because you've kind of done half of your 20s, you know? And being in your 20s is about making mistakes. And it might not be great to keep on making mistakes, but every single one of them is a lesson in some way. It's a hard reality dealing with the fact that you're still going to have to keep going and keep making these mistakes on. And maybe just 5 years of just making mistakes makes me feel very old. I have to touch on the point that I think it also highlights this like ever-longing belief and notion in society that younger equals better. You know, younger equals prettier, younger equals freedom. And so if you're not seizing on those attributes of yourself when you're young, it's slowly escaping you, and you're never going to get that back because time is inevitable and you're always going to get older. But it's just not true. Like, life is short, but it's also very long, and there's nothing stopping you from doing anything at any age. So many people have proven that over time, like Morgan Freeman and like Oprah Winfrey, and oh my god, do you know who else? Viola Davis as well. Like, worked so hard for so long and then only got her big break later on in life. And I'm like, that's great, you know? And she's like she's a great actress, and I just think about her a lot of the time and stuff like that. And I think my point is that I'm not old. 25 is not old, and it never will be. It's just a lot to think about and a lot to process. Like any year, you know, any age of your life is always going to be very hard to process. And I think 25 is probably the first one, probably to sort of process. Not in an enjoying way. I think when you hit 18, you're like, oh, I'm 18. Like, I've got, you know, I can do all these things. And then you're 21 and then you're like, oh my God, I can do even more things. And then you're 25 and you're like, oh, like, time just keeps going, I guess. But I think 25 is the first one because I feel like it will probably be like another crisis, and then 40, and then 50, you know, it's always going to happen in time. So unfortunately, this feeling is never going to escape us, and we're always going to have to deal with the fact that we always just will get old over time. But going back on sort of like that feeling of being lost, there's so much going on at the moment that is just so chaotic, you know, going back and forth in these like recessions, you know, government and politics, all these people and all these things that should have their shit together don't. You can't help but think, I guess what's the pressure to have it all together? There's a lot of important people that definitely do not have it all together, and they probably should at their age. Now, I don't want to tear people down to make myself feel better, which unfortunately I could do and happily and freely at my own will, but it makes you feel a bit better, right? But then it's so hard not to compare to others when you do actually see the ones that do have it all together. And unfortunately, that is social media, and that is has been the bane of sort of the progress of my life is social media and TikTok and Instagram and all those ones that exist on my phone. And it's really hard because social media will only feed you positive images. It never looks on the grid. It never looks at the people applying for jobs behind the laptop. It never shows you rough days, ugly days, days in bed where you just don't want to do anything. And then you just see these perfect, pretty people who are young and successful and having the best time of their lives. And it really, really, really gets you down if you continuously consume it over and over again. If you would like to listen to more of stuff about social media, I am going to do an episode about how I feel like I'm addicted to my phone, and it is because of social media. I do want to get into that more in another episode, but it definitely applies to being 25, and especially when you follow people on social media and then you realize how old they are and you're like, what the heck? Like, it's not fair. So social media is definitely one, and the other is definitely pressure, but pressure from yourself. Now, I have too much self-pressure. I have a deep burden of self-pressure. It's so annoying because I always question, like, where does my self-pressure come from? Like, why do I pressurize myself so much? And I'm like, it literally is from myself. I have too high expectations of myself. I put myself too highly in my book of life. Like, I believe that in the main character, but also I'm like, right, this main character cannot be doing stupid shit like that, or this main character should be here, but actually she's a good 2 chapters behind. And it really, really gets me down, the pressure that I put on myself. I feel like it's quite hard to have conversations with myself, and when I look in the mirror and it's like I'm always telling myself off. I'm like a teacher in my head, just constantly telling myself off. Why are you not doing this? Why are you not here now? And it's really hard to channel that out of your head when I think you've always sort of, dreamt of certain things. And I think because that's the thing, like, I've always had dreams and I've always had goals, and my ambitions are so strong. That's like all I want in life, and the self-pressure will always get you down and give you doubts and just basically torment you. And I want to just say that, like, having self-pressure is fine, but I think it's good to sort of channel that self-pressure in certain ways. I think doing this podcast for me has been a lot of pressure on myself because unfortunately I did the thing where I went to a lot of social events and saw a lot of my friends, and my friends all asked me what I was doing, and I said, oh, I'm going to start a podcast soon and I'm going to write it about this, this and this, and I told too many people, and so now I actually have to do it, and here I am doing it. So yeah, I feel in that sense I maybe channeled the pressure that I put myself well, but now it's time to sort of like balance that self-pressure. Realize how much you've done. 25, I have done a lot, and there's no pressure for me to just keep on achieving. Like, small achievements are made every day. Getting up, seizing the day, doing a food shop, having a shower. Those are all small achievements. But you don't put pressure. Sometimes you don't put pressure on yourself to do those kind of things because sometimes they're not needed. So I think, yes, 25 does put pressure on me, and it makes me think, all these things, but I'm slowly learning to channel the pressure in a good kind of way, if that makes any sense. So to finish, because I need to finish, at the end of the day, I'm overthinking it all. I'm very lucky and I'm blessed to be where I am at my age, even if that means that I haven't gone to Vietnam yet. And that yet is important. I'm being dramatic and I actually have a lot of time, so it's all good. I could go to Vietnam when I'm 40. Like, no one's stopping me, nothing is stopping me, and that's fine. I also need to stop punishing myself for wanting to pursue something different that isn't traveling or whatever. Like, if I really wanted to, I would move home and work and save, but I actually don't want to do that. I'm actually very lucky that I'm actually trying to do something that I want to do. To round this off, I guess it's the first year of my life where I do feel the entity of how much time has gone. Like, you don't think about it when you're a teen or in your early 20s because you're still so spongy and fresh, like absorbing it all. And it's now I'm like an old soapy sponge. I've absorbed it all and I'm just watching new sponges get soaked up. But that's okay because I had a good time and I'm still a good working sponge. And there's still a lot to absorb. So yeah, it's all okay. It's all okay to see 20 and 21-year-olds be successful because So am I. And I could be. And I have the potential to do anything. And being 25 shouldn't stop that. I'm gorgeous. And I actually am. And I genuinely love being in my body and my brain, even though it drives me insane. Bars. But I wouldn't want it any other way. It's my journey, it's my life, and that's all mine. And here's to 25, and 26, and 27, and 28, and all the rest. Seizing every year of my life now, from now on. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to me dwell in my thoughts. If you like this video, you can give it a like. If you want, you can subscribe, send the video to a friend and just laugh at me as I talk in my bed. I would love to know what you guys think about being 25 in the comments, or if you've had any conversations with friends about being 25. And yeah, join me next time for more thinking, overthinking, and overthinking. Yay, yay. Thank you. Bye.